Welcome back, everybody, to our Kaltura webinar series. Again, my name is Morgan Clausen, and I'm joined by my co-host, Danny Smith, Instructional Technology Specialist at Valdosta State University. In today's episode, we are going to look at teaching with Kaltura, so all the ways we can use Kaltura in our Blazeview. So we are going to cover a lot in today's episode. First, we'll take a look at the perks of teaching virtually. Believe it or not, there are many. Next, we'll take a look at Kaltura and universal design for learning principles and how we can use Kaltura to meet various needs and differentiate instruction. And then finally, we'll take a look at autonomous learning paths within Blazeview and specifically consider the ways that we can enhance those learning paths using Kaltura video. So what are you going to need to do? Well, I would definitely grab a snack and perhaps a beverage of your choice. Log into your Blazeview account and pull up your sandbox. We'll take several Blazor breaks throughout the webinar episode today so that you can practice the skills that we're teaching. And you'll also want to have a PowerPoint or a PDF kind of handy and at your disposal so you can practice lecture recording. All right, let's get started. So, the perks of teaching virtually. Now, whether or not you ever thought you would be teaching virtually, we all found ourselves sometime around March or April of 2020 teaching online. And for a lot of us, that was tough. We began our semester strong. We knew what we were going to do in our face-to-face classes and how we were going to do it. Then we became aware that there could be a potential to go virtual, and we made our remote teaching plan, but that might not have been exactly what happened. You know what, though? Let's take a moment to pat ourselves on the back because it might not be pretty, but we did draw a horse. So let's roll it back a little bit and really consider some of those perks of teaching virtually. So the first thing I want to look at is organization. Okay, so inputting all of your content in a learning management system like Blazeview, you really get to review the content that you have and choose only specific material that is essential to students' learning and understanding. That is a great way to organize and maybe cull unnecessary information from your course. Not to mention, because your content is in Blazeview, you can easily copy that content course to course. So as you continue to work online, you continue to upload things to your course shells in Blazeview, you can contact an instructional designer or do it yourself and copy over all the bits and pieces and all the information you need so you don't have to recreate any of your courses. And of course, specific course navigation and organization. So what I mean by this is that we get to be really intentional about how we give students content, the order in which we give students content, and the order in which they are able to complete assessments. Next, when we teach virtually, we get to play with asynchronous instruction and synchronous instruction and figure out how we are going to marry the two. So as a quick recap, asynchronous instruction is that instruction that happens on a student's own time and kind of at their own pace. So that would be like recorded video lectures and discussion posts that have long open periods so students can continually revisit them. Synchronous instruction is the kind of instruction that happens in a more face-to-face kind of classroom setting, but because it's online, these synchronous sessions are happening in Collaborate Ultra, they're happening in Zoom, they're happening in Teams, and all of those other sorts of programs that allow us to communicate with our students in real time. And so because we get to play with these options and decide what works best for us, our content, and our students, we get to be really flexible in how we present information to students and what our expectations are of them. We also get to provide appropriate feedback. Asynchronously, we can create quizzes that are automatically graded so students know exactly how they did as soon as they turn it in. We can create rubrics to make it easy to provide detailed feedback to assignments. And synchronously, we can hold all sorts of sessions that allow us to work with students one-on-one, in small groups, or as a whole to assess and work through some information and assignments that they've turned in. Additionally, because content is always available asynchronously in BlazeView, there is repetitive availability, and this is going to help students really master your subject matter and increase their own learning and understanding of the topics at hand. For example, they can review a PowerPoint as many times as they want and need in order for those concepts to stick. And of course, communication. And I think this is something that goes both ways for students and for instructors. For instructors, we can quickly utilize BlazeView tools to communicate with students. Announcements and intelligent agents allows us to communicate with students quickly and without having to individually email them. We can also participate in discussion boards and even email or chat from the various BlazeView communication tools. And for students, suddenly communication becomes not quite such a scary thing. They're able to reach out to their instructors as they need it, when they need it, and they have a little bit of safety behind the screen. And finally, and perhaps one of the biggest perks of online teaching is differentiation. We get to use BlazeView to create multiple content delivery strategies. Okay, we can present content through a PowerPoint, through a PDF, through a recorded lecture. The world is our oyster, and we can do that easily within BlazeView. We can also come up with multiple assessment strategies. So we have the traditional options like quizzes and assignments, but we can go even further and have students work in groups asynchronously at their own speed and at their own pace. And last but not least, we get to include multiple engagement strategies within our BlazeView. And again, that could be through written text, that could be through audio like a podcast, it could be through video like Kaltura. And I want to touch briefly on differentiation, right? That is such a buzzword in education. We know we want to differentiate instructions for our students, but what exactly does that mean? Well, what it should mean is that we value each of our students and the unique perspectives and ideas they bring to our class. We also value and respect their unique abilities, and we want to create instruction that meets the needs of all of our students. So we want to be intentional in groupings and assignments. We want to provide them autonomy, and we want to allow them to truly decide and dictate and work with our content to determine how best to learn and how best to show us what they've learned. All right, so differentiation, but how do we do that specifically? Well, I want to look at universal design for learning, or as we'll call it throughout the rest of this webinar, UDL. So what is UDL? Well, it is a series of principles and tangible ideas for differentiating instruction. And all of these ideas work very well in the online setting. So let's take a look at those principles and guidelines here. So UDL asks us as instructors to provide multiple means of engagement. And our goal is to create purposeful, motivated learners. And so when we consider providing multiple means of engagement, what we mean is that there are multiple opportunities for students to be engaged in the content, to collaborate with their community, and we really optimize their choice and autonomy. Next, we want to make sure that we provide multiple means of representation. And our goal here is to create resourceful and knowledgeable learners. And so this is really all about your content and how you present it to students. We want to provide multiple options for comprehension. So we don't want to just give students a PowerPoint and expect them to understand. But perhaps in addition to the PowerPoint, we also provide a video lecture, or we provide a YouTube clip that also explains aspects of the contents of the PowerPoint. Okay, we want to make sure as well that we are giving them accessible content and that we're using auditory and visual cues to help our students move through the content. And lastly, we want to provide multiple means of action and expression. And here our goal is to create strategic and goal-directed learners. So this is really all about how students are going to communicate to the instructor that they've mastered the content. Okay, whew, let's take a quick Blazer break. So I want you to pause and reflect on your courses and assess your UDL considerations. As you think about your courses, ask yourself these kinds of questions. Are there multiple opportunities for students to be successful? Are there multiple opportunities for students to understand the content that I'm teaching? Are there multiple opportunities for students to work as a community with their classmates? So sit tight for a second, pause the video, maybe go back through some of your courses, and just personally assess your own UDL considerations. All right, welcome back, everyone. So you just thought a little bit about how you may or may not be incorporating UDL principles and philosophies within your online courses. And then you also might be wondering, what does this have to do with Kaltura? Well, I'll tell you. So, in continuing with the perks of teaching virtually and utilizing UDL in our online courses, these are some questions we can ask ourselves to make sure we're doing these things appropriately. And not only can we ask ourselves these questions, but we can answer these questions with Kaltura. So let's get started. The first block of UDL is all about engagement. And so here we ask ourselves, does the lesson provide options that can help all learners regulate their own learning, sustain effort and motivation, and maintain engagement and interest? Well, how are we going to do that with Kaltura? We can record our original lectures. And so in this way, students can view lectures at their own pace and on their own time. We know that we've included now a new modality. It's not just text, but also video, and that creates added engagement and interest. And additionally, increased instructor presence, your face and your voice in their online courses motivates students. So, Danny, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and walk us through the process of beginning to record our lectures?
Thank you, Morgan. Once you have downloaded your Kaltura capture, you will be presented with this screen. With the record button, you can select your screen here, and you can select your monitor here. You can select your camera and choose which camera you want. Right now, my camera is selected to be off. You notice this because it's grayed out with a slash through it. And you can select your audio or microphone. Once you have those selected, you can just click the start recording button. Go through your assignment, your lesson, and then you'll hit the start recording button, and you will be presented with this screen. Here you can give it a name and save and upload, which will automatically upload to your Kaltura in BlazeView, or you can just click save. You can also go to your library, and once you're done here, you need to go back to new recording here to go back to your Kaltura capture so you can record a new lesson.
Thanks, Danny. And so based on what Danny just showed us about using Kaltura Capture to begin recording, let's take another Blazer break and give it a try. So take a moment, Pause this video and locate your Kaltura My Media in one of your BlazeView courses, preferably your sandbox. Under the Add New option, select Kaltura Capture. And now, try your hand at creating a quick recording using Capture. Save to view it when you are finished. All right, I hope that your recording went well. No worries, we're going to use that quick recording you just made momentarily. But for now, let's tackle information presentation. So the second block of UDL asks us to differentiate and provide multiple opportunities for the presentation of information. And so some questions we can ask ourselves. Does the lesson provide options that can help all learners reach higher levels of comprehension and understanding? Understand specific symbols and expressions we might use? And perceive what needs to be learned? And so how can we use that with Kaltura? Well, there are a couple different options we have. For instance, we can make sure that we are utilizing intentional lecture capturing views so that students can make autonomous decisions about how to view their content and or the instructor. So this means that when you're recording your lecture, you need to decide if you will be present or if you will only be screen recording. And if you are present, how will that impact the overall lecture? Do we need to be recording you so that we can see you act out things or use your hands or better provide a demonstration? Then you definitely want to make sure that you are recording not just your screen, but also yourself. We can also utilize Kaltura captioning, and so in this way we make all of our videos accessible to all students. And then next, we really need to be mindful about BlazeView organization and where we are putting these Kaltura videos so that students explicitly understand what it is that they need to be learning. All right, so let's take a look. Danny is going to walk us through those presentation views in Kaltura so we can make better decisions when we are recording our own lectures about what we want students to see.
The Kaltura player is the front-end interface used to view captured videos and/or presentations from Kaltura capture applications. The Kaltura player provides you with multiple interactive viewing options, such as picture-in-picture, side-by-side, and other displays. So let's navigate to our My Media folder, and we're going to select a recording that I've done in Kaltura Capture. Alright, in here we have the first one is picture-in-picture with the camera in the background and the PowerPoint slide in the foreground. You can change the view by clicking the toggle view and make the PowerPoint bigger and the camera smaller. The other options are side by side. That way you have the camera and the PowerPoint side by side, and you can adjust them depending on what side of the screen you want the PowerPoint on. There is one more view, and it's the single view. You can have the camera up, or you can have the PowerPoint presentation up. These are some of the views available in Kaltura Capture and the Kaltura player.
Thanks, Danny. And if you don't mind, can you walk us through captioning in Kaltura and perhaps editing if we can edit our captions as well?
Alright, if you want to add captions to your recording, Alright, if you want to add captions to your recording, you access your Kaltura My Media, which are already here. Click on the recording that you want to get captions for. It opens up in the window. Then you scroll down to actions on the right. you will click the Actions button, and then you want Caption and Enrich. We want to have machine captions available. Choose your language, and then you click Submit. And it says your request has been received, and it will automatically update upon completion. And Kaltura says it's about 85% accurate and takes between 30 and 45 minutes. So navigate to your class and go to your My Media, and then navigate to the recording. You have your captions. Click on it, and then we're going to scroll down. You see all your captions right here, but you don't edit from here. You scroll down, click on Actions, Captions and Enrich. This little screen opens and it says status is completed, and here is your caption editor, and it will open up, and as your recording plays, alright, it will navigate to where
your Kaltura,
the captions being highlighted,
My Media,
and you can edit them.
You want to log into your Blaze view.
Once you have done all your
Go
edits,
to a course, which I'm
scroll up
going to
here,
my sandbox,
click Save.
and your
So I'm
Kaltura.
going to click on to navigate to your Kaltura, K-A-L-T, or your My Media, and then you'll click Save. I'm going to say, do you want to save changes? Are you sure you want to save? Click Yes, and it saves the edited caption.
Fantastic. I love that Kaltura will automatically caption for you. And I love how easy it is to go in and edit those captions if you notice that they're not quite right. And so lastly, in this little section, let's look at some Blazeview organizational ideas for where we can put Kaltura videos. We also want to focus, as we are looking at this specific section, on making sure that our modules are organized in a way that makes learning objectives and content explicit for students. In considering how we organize our courses in Blazeview, we want to make sure that we do several things. One of the first things we want to do is make sure that our expectations for course navigation are explicit and obvious to students. And then we also want to set up each module with learning objectives and outcomes. In that way, students know what they're going to learn and be expected to understand by the end of the course. Additionally, we want to add engaging and multimodal content, and that's where Kaltura comes in. So let's take a quick look at some of the ways we can organize a module and embed Kaltura videos for students. So I'm going to head into content, and we can see here that I have several modules. So right now, I'm in the Unit 1 Learning Theories module, and then the Humanism submodule. I have a couple different things here: a PDF document, a video, and audio. One thing I'm missing, however, are learning objectives to orient the student to the module. There are a couple places we can put those learning objectives. In the description box, or we can create a new file. Why not also add a video to further engage students in the objectives of the module? We can add a Kaltura video to our description box. First, let's choose the Insert Stuff icon, scroll to Kaltura Media, and from here we can select the video we wish to upload. When we press Update, our video will appear here in the description box for students to watch. We can use a similar process to add the video below. Choose existing activities, add Kaltura media, and then simply select the video we wish to embed. We can see our video linked here. And of course, students can always simply select videos from the media gallery in their course. To do that, they merely have to head up to their nav bar, click on Kaltura, and then choose Media Gallery. Any videos that you've added to this course will appear for them. Missing a video? No problem. It's really quick to add videos to your media gallery. Simply choose Add Media, and then simply select any of the videos located within your My Media. You can even choose multiple videos at a time. When you're done, select Publish. These videos are now available in Media Gallery for students to view. Now let's rearrange our module just a little bit for appropriate course navigation. We'll move learning objectives to the top. Perhaps I want them to view this video next. Then they can have access to the PDF, more videos, and a podcast. So this is one way that we can organize our modules so that we orient students to the objectives, we help them through course navigation, and we also provide multiple modalities of content presentation, all using Kaltura. All right, let's take a Blazer break. So, using the practice video you made earlier in our webinar, let's try uploading it to your BlazeView sandbox. So first, why don't you try embedding it in a description box? And then you can try embedding it in a module. And finally, go ahead and add it to your media gallery. Remember, your media gallery is what all of the students in your course will be able to see. So any videos you upload there will be available for all of your students. All right, now that you've given that a try, let's move right along and tackle the third part of UDL. And that is all about student expression and multiple opportunities for assessment. And of course, we're going to look at how we can use Kaltura specifically. So when we consider providing multiple opportunities for students to express what they know and to assess them, we have some questions we want to ask ourselves. So does the lesson provide options that can help all learners act strategically, express themselves fluently, and then physically respond to the content? Again, Kaltura is going to give us a lot of options here, especially when we pair it with all of the great things that BlazeView can do. So first, we can create Kaltura enhanced discussions. So not only do students have the option and opportunity to type responses to their students, but they can also post their own videos. We can also create Kaltura enhanced assignments. So once you've set up assignments, students can then respond or reply within the text submission area videos from their own personal Kalturas or using Express Capture. And then Kaltura has an excellent feature embedded directly within My Media, and that is the Kaltura quizzes option. So that can make our lectures interactive because we can pause and ask students questions, multiple choice and true false, and also include reflective points in which we ask students to reflect on what we just talked about. So let's take a look at how we can have students use Kaltura in assignments and discussions.
Thanks, Morgan. Students can interact with the Kaltura through accessing their class and going to the navigation bar and selecting My Media. From this section, students can see the recordings I have listed in their My Media. They can also do a media upload from content they have previously recorded and have it on their computer. They can put in a YouTube video if they have one on that site. And they can also use Express Capture. Express Capture enables recording content directly from the browser without the need to install any additional software. They won't have access to the video quiz or to Kaltura Capture. Another way students can use their Kaltura Express recording is to go to Discussions, and if the instructor has a discussion there, you can add a recording to introduce yourself. So what you want to do, you want to click on Add a Recording, and here I have the instructions of how to use the Express Capture in Kaltura. So you read through all the steps and you get to the bottom where the threads are, and you want to start a new thread and you want to give it a name. I'm Danny, and here you want to click on Insert Stuff, and you want to click on Add Kaltura Media, and it's going to redirect. And this one has all your recordings also. But if you want to use the Express Capture, you will click on Add New, click on Express Capture, and this will load your Express Capture, and it will ask you if you want to use your microphone and use your camera. So click Allow. And now you see I'll have up my camera, and you will click Record, and we're going to do a quick recording to show how it's done. Alright, and we're going to do a quick recording to show how it's done. Alright, and then we're going to scroll down, we're going to click Use This, and it will save. And then now you will click Embed, and this will embed it into the discussion. And then it will say media is being processed, click here to refresh, but it's probably going to take a couple minutes to. But we're going to go ahead and insert it, and it will insert into the post. And it takes about, you know how long your recording is, 10 to 15 minutes for it to process. And then we're going to post it. And now you can see it is listed in the discussion. Another way students can interact, if the instructor has an assignment and wants to do a recording, so they could have, an assignment, and you would go in here and get the details of the assignment. And this is a text submission, and we're going to go back to the insert stuff, add Kaltura Media. Like I said, if you've previously done a recording, you can select it and embed it. This is the recording we just did previously. And we're going to insert it. And then we're going to submit it. And this is going to be an assignment where the teacher can grade. And we're going to click Done. And you'll notice intro assignment recording and one submission. These are a couple of ways students can interact with Kaltura in BlazeView with their My Media and Express Capture.
So those are fantastic options for allowing students to participate in discussions and assignments through more multimodal means than simply typing. Now, I mentioned earlier that we can also create quizzes in Kaltura. So, Danny, can you go ahead and show us how that's possible?
In this session, we're going to discuss Kaltura video quiz and analytics. So we want to access our My Media. And it will show all your recordings. And you want to click on the Add New. And we're going to select Video Quiz. This is the editor media selection. So we're going to select the recording we want to make a quiz with. So we're going to select the Pelican Flight. And this will take you to your quiz builder. All right, and here is where we add our questions. So we click on Add a Question. We can do multiple choice, true, false, a reflection point, or open-ended question. Our first question will be multiple choice, and I'm going to type in, what color is the sky? And we can put our correct answer here, and we're going to put reddish, blue. We'll add another one, white. And you can also move your correct answer around. All right, so question 1 is done, so we're going to click Save. And you notice a little thing come down here, puts it on the timeline. And you can drag your question around and put it anywhere you want to in the recording. So we're going to add another question. And then we're going to do a true false. We're going to add the question. Video. And true and false. And so there are birds in there, so we're going to save. And you see our little, and it put it right where we had it listed in our timeline. So we're going to drag again. We're going to add a question, back to multiple choice. What type of BUI? One more question. And we're going to say it's a lighthouse, and then we're going to click Save. All right, so now we can always preview the question, and this will show you what your quiz will look like. So let it load, and when you click play, it's going to say, welcome, we have a quiz, and we're going to click Continue. And you'll notice down here on the bottom, these are where the questions are. All right, so there's the question. What color is the sky? We're going to say reddish. Select. And it will continue. Yes, so there, there's birds in there, right? And it will continue. I guess it's a lighthouse. It's kind of hard to say. All right. And then the video will continue. And then it will say completed. And it will ask you to submit your answer. And then it will say you got 100%. All right. So we'll click done. This is going to carry us. And then we'll escape. And then now we're going to click done, and we'll go back to the media page. The last thing we'll cover in this section is the analytics. So if you click on your recording or your quiz, it will open up in this new window, and we'll scroll down under actions, and it will choose analytics. This will show player impressions and performance over time. It will also show the quiz questions and the quiz users. Since I'm the teacher in here, my results won't show up. So those are the video analytics. And we're going to go back to my media. To make this quiz accessible for students, we'll have to go to content, and then wherever in your table of contents you want to place the quiz, you will go to, we're just going to go to the Kaltura content module, and we're going to go to existing activities, and then we're going to add Kaltura quiz. And then it's going to redirect, and it's going to say which quiz do you want to use. So we're going to embed the Pelican Flight quiz. And then we'll scroll down, and then we'll click on that quiz. And this is where, to complete this step, you'll have to add an assessment. Morgan will discuss how to add the assessment or add a grade item. Take it away, Morgan.
No worries, Danny. I got this part. Thanks, Danny. So Danny got us to the point where we have created a Kaltura quiz. Here's an example of one of mine. Remember that when students click on the quiz, they'll be notified they're about to take a quiz and that all questions must be answered. Then they'll select continue to move on. But how do we get their quiz results from here to the Blazeview gradebook? That's easy. From your instructor account, you'll simply scroll down till you see assessment. Then you'll choose add a grade item. If the grade item already exists, you can simply select it here. If it doesn't, choose the plus button. Now we can create the grade item. Give it a name. If you have categories, you can add it to a category. If not, you can make a gradebook category here. Optionally, you can add a description. If you do add a description, you may want to allow users to view that description. Decide how many points your quiz will be worth. Decide if it's a bonus item. You also have the option to decide if you want to exclude from final grade calculation. That's a great option for any assessments you're giving that are more informal and not meant to factor into that final grade total, but more meant to give you a general idea of your students' progress. Next, you see restrictions here. However, you most likely will not use these restrictions on any gradebook items. These specific restrictions mean that the gradebook item itself has start and end dates, which means that once that end date was reached, students would be unable to see their specific grade. So we'll leave these alone. When you're done, choose Create. And just like that, this assessment has been tied to the Kaltura quiz. All right, that was a lot of information. We looked at creating Kaltura enhanced assignments, creating Kaltura enhanced discussions, and creating video quizzes so that we can make our lectures interactive for our students. So it's time for a Blazer break. Pause this webinar and select Add New from your My Media. We're going to practice making our own video quizzes. So once you select Add New, choose a video quiz. Select a video, perhaps the one that we've been working on throughout the course of this webinar, and make a sample quiz. Add the video quiz to a module, preferably a random module within your sandbox, and associate it with a grade item. When you're done, come on back for the last part of our webinar. Okay, as promised, we are here with our one last thing. So in this portion, we're going to look at autonomous learning paths and how we can use Kaltura to customize learning paths within BlazeView. So we can differentiate instruction with autonomous learning paths. This means that we're going to use BlazeView features to allow for student choice in learning. So they'll be able to pick and choose what it is that they learn and how they show it. Now, don't forget to embed those Kaltura videos to increase engagement, provide content, and promote further understanding. Let's take a look at an example. So we begin with Module 1. Here in this module, we're going to include lesson objectives. And in this example, I'm thinking we'll look at writing screenplays. Then perhaps I'll include an article or some sort of text that students can read to further orient them to the module and provide instruction. Then I want to create a Kaltura video in which I explain the two paths where they can either go to submodule 1 or submodule 2. And lastly, in this first module, I'm going to include a checklist. So students simply have to check the item that has the name of the module they wish to go to next. So what's going to be in our submodules? Well, in our first submodule, this will be all about writing a comedic screenplay, let's say. So if students select comedic screenplay in the Module 1 checklist, only this module will open up next. So here we can include a Kaltura enhanced lecture and quiz. We can perhaps use a discussion post, and then we'll have one more checklist that allows students to choose their assessment path. However, if back in that first module they choose a dramatic screenplay, for instance, submodule 2 will open for them. So here we'll have additional submodule objectives, another Kaltura enhanced lecture and quiz, but this time focused on a dramatic screenplay. Again, we'll have that discussion post, so all the students who chose this item will be able to talk in a community. And then we'll have that one last checklist so that they can choose their assessment path. So that leads us to the assessments. So based on the checklist item they choose in both submodule 1 and submodule 2, students get to decide what kind of assessment they'll complete. And so I have two examples for each. Assessment 1, students can perform a screenplay, or assessment 2, they can turn in a written screenplay. So let's take a look at this in action in BlazeView. So let's check out that customized learning path to promote student autonomy within BlazeView. So here's my example. We begin with our overall module called Writing Screenplays. Within this module, they can view the lesson objectives, perhaps read an article, watch a video that explains the different options, and then they have a checklist in which they can pick if they want to do comedic screenplays or dramatic screenplays. From there, and we can see the release condition here, based on their choice of this checklist item, either comedic screenplays will open or dramatic screenplays will open. There, each module is set up very similarly, with lesson objectives, a Kaltura video lecture and quiz, a conditionally released discussion topic, as well as a new checklist. Now, here they get to decide if they'll choose Assessment 1, perform a screenplay, or Assessment 2, write a screenplay. So based on their choice on the checklist, they'll also be able to choose their assessment. In this way, we're differentiating content across the board. Now, let's check it out from the student view. So, I'm logged in as a student. Here, I can see the lesson objectives, the article, the video explaining the directions, and then I have access to the checklist. Now that I've gone through all the content, I think I want to do comedic screenplays. When I head back to writing screenplays, my new module has appeared. So now I can work through the comedic screenplay lesson objectives, the comedic screenplay video lecture and quiz, the discussion topic, and I get to decide how I want to be assessed. Do I want to send a video performing a screenplay, or do I want to turn in a written screenplay? Well, I'm pretty theatrical, so I think I'm going to perform my own screenplay. So let's head back to comedic screenplays. Now, my assessment one is available, and any assignments that you've included will appear here. And just like that, students have been able to personalize their learning experience, and we've enhanced that personalization with Kaltura videos. So that brings us to the end of the second episode of our Kaltura webinar series. I am so excited to see what you come up with in your own BlazeView courses and how you utilize Kaltura to differentiate instruction for all of your students. Stay tuned for future episodes.